Hello and welcome back to Data Analysis and Visualization. I'm Jovita Christie, and in this video, we are going to talk about focusing on your audience while designing a data visualization. So let's begin. To make a functional data visualization, you must get to know your target audience and then design precisely for their needs. But to make every design decision with your target audience in mind, you need to take a few steps to make sure you really understand your data visualization's target consumers. So knowing the target audience is a very important aspect of designing a data visualization. And we are going to see how you can do this process in a manner that would allow you to create a visualization that is perfect for the type of audience that you have in mind. So, what is the process for this? The first thing you would do is to brainstorm, which means you think about a specific member of your visualization's audience and make as many educated guesses as you can about that person's motivations. It helps to give this imaginary audience member a name and a few other identifying characteristics. So you could just imagine that you are building some visualization for a bunch of doctors. So when you're brainstorming, you don't just want to focus on a bunch of doctors or just think in general about doctors, but try to give a name to one audience member. For example, let's say that there is a particular doctor that you know and you'd like to think about what that doctor would require in the form of a visualization. So think about that particular doctor, not just a doctor in general. Give a name to that audience member and then try to brainstorm. The second thing is to define the purpose of your visualization. Narrow the purpose of your visualization by deciding exactly what action or outcome you want your audience members to make as a result of your visualization. So most of the time when we are designing something, we don't want our audiences to create or make their own decisions. We want our visualization to show some conclusion, and we want our audience members to actually pick up that conclusion, to conclude the same thing. We want them to reach to that same conclusion as you did. So you want to make sure that that purpose of your visualization is narrowed down. Next thing is to choose a functional design. Review the three main data visualization types and then decide which type can best help you achieve your desired outcome. And this is something that we saw in the previous video where I explained to you the three types of data visualizations, storytelling, one is related to analytics. So it depends on what kind of audience you have. Storytelling would work for people who are, at some top level of the company and they want to make decisions, and so you would use storytelling. But analytical model or design would work when you have people um, who are analytical, who are like-minded, who are just like you. They are also trying to analyze something. So at that time you do not draw a lot of conclusions from your data, but you leave that open to the audience to do. So you have to choose one of these functional designs. Now let's go through this whole process step by step. So the first step of this process is which is brainstorming. So what you would do here is to create an imaginary audience member named, let's call her Brenda, who is a divorced mother of one. So she has a child and she's divorced, and her name is Brenda. And so this is our imaginary audience member. Now, to do a proper brainstorming, start by getting out a sheet of paper and then really thinking about your imaginary audience member, which is Brenda. And then you'll answer the following questions, which I'm going to show you now, to help you better understand her and thus better understand and design for your target audience. So this is only possible if you do this brainstorming correctly and answer all the questions that I'm going to show you. Now you need to form a picture of what Brenda's average day looks like, right? What would Brenda's average day look like? What she does when she gets out of bed in the morning, what she does over her lunch hour, and what her workplace is like. And then you consider how Brenda will use your visualization. So if you're creating this visualization and Brenda is one of the people who is going to use your visualization, then you need to imagine what her day will be like, and when does she go to work, what is she doing, so how is she going to use that visualization which you have created. So these are some of the questions to help you out. Where does Brenda work? What does Brenda do for a living? This is one such question. The second type of question you can ask is, what kind of technical education or experience, if any, does she have? Does she have some qualification, educational qualification? Has she done some technical course to help her with whatever work that she's doing? How old is Brenda? So this is another question. Is she married? We already, I think, established that she's divorced, so no. And does she have children? Yes, she does. She has one child. What does Brenda look like? So this is another thing. You need to picture Brenda. You don't just need to, and once again, this does not mean that you have to, go through your audience members and go through a list of audience members and pick one. So you don't. It doesn't have to be real. This is all imagination. So you would also want to find out, where does she live? So once again, you don't really have to go after somebody named Brenda and find out where she's living. You just have to imagine all this. So these are the questions that you would add into that imaginary picture of Brenda that you have created. What social, political, uh, caste-based, or professional issues are important to Brenda? Which political party does she like? And what social issues, like social activism issues, does she support? Right? Does she support children's education? Does she support UNICEF or something of that sort? So what does Brenda think of herself? So this is another thing that you need to decide, what Brenda thinks of herself. What problems and issues does Brenda have to deal with on a daily basis? So what is she working as? Is she a nurse? Then what type of issues does Brenda have to deal with every day if she's working as a nurse? How does your data visualization help solve Brenda's work problems or her family problems or improve her self-esteem? So there are three things that your data visualization can do. It can actually solve Brenda's work problems, or it could solve some family problem that she has, or it could or it could improve her self-esteem. So either of these three, you need to decide what exactly you want to target. Through what avenue will you present the visualization to Brenda, for example, through the internet or in a staff meeting? So this is another important question. You want to find out how exactly you're going to present. Suppose you've created your visualization. How are you going to send it to Brenda? Are you going to send it through the internet? So this could be just, a sort of a Facebook advertisement or something. You could be emailing it to her, or it could be something that Brenda asked for specifically. And so you would want to go to a staff meeting and explain your visualization to her. What does Brenda need to be able to do with your data visualization? What does she need to do with your visualization? And that is another question that you have to answer. Now, let's just imagine that, okay, Brenda is a manager of the zoning department. She is 45 years old, a single divorcee with two children or one child, okay, who's just about to start college. So her children are going to just get into college. And she's really interested in local politics and would eventually like to be on the county's board of commissioners. So she is quite political minded and would like to get some government position. But to achieve that position, she has to get some major wins on her county management resume. And Brenda derives most of her feelings of self-worth from her job and her keen ability to make good management decisions for her department. So in order to get that political role that she's desiring, she has to do some major work in the role that she currently is in, so that she could add all that to her resume, and then her resume would make a better impact. And to answer the question about her self-worth or self-esteem, she gets most of her self-esteem based by what she does due to her job, okay, and her ability to make good decisions for her department. So this is completely a fictional character that we're developing here. And up until now, Brenda's been forced to manage her department according to her gut feel intuition, backed by a few disparate business systems reports. So this is how she's currently managing. She has some intuition and she takes decisions based on that. Or she does get some reports which are system generated reports, through which she also makes decisions. And she's not extraordinarily analytical, but she knows enough to understand what she sees. So if you give her some visualization, she'll probably understand what that shows. The problem is that Brenda hasn't had the visualization tools required to show her all the relevant data she should be considering. So far, like I said, she's only doing system-generated reports, so she does not have enough visualization tools to actually make a good visualization that could aid her in her decision-making process. Now let's move on to step 2. We've done this brainstorming and created this fictional character of Brenda. Now what is step 2? Step 2, if you remember, is all about after you've done all this, you have to narrow down your purpose. Why are you creating this visualization? So now, because she has neither time nor skill to code something up herself, she's been waiting in the lurch, and Brenda is very excited that you'll be attending next Monday's staff meeting to present the data visualization alternatives available to help her get underway in making data-driven management decisions. So, which means you will be meeting Brenda in a staff meeting and you will be showing your visualizations to her in person. So this is your step 2. You're narrowing down the whole purpose. After you brainstorm about your typical audience member, you can much more easily pinpoint exactly what you're trying to achieve with this data visualization. Are you attempting to get your consumer to feel a certain way about themselves or the world around them? So what do you want? Do you want them to feel better about themselves or be more confident in their decision-making process? Or do you want them to feel a certain way about the world around them? Like social activism, if you're creating something for that, then do you want them to feel sorry for those children who do not receive enough food, who are undernourished? So then you would create a visualization to try to provoke that type of a feeling. Are you trying to make a statement? Are you trying to influence organizational decision makers to make good business decisions? Or do you simply want to lay all the data out there for all viewers to make sense of and deduce from what they will? So this last part you would do if you had really analytical minded people with you, and you don't want to make conclusions from your data. You just want to give them all the data visualization and allow them to make a conclusion. So it depends on what kind of purpose you have in mind after you have studied your audience. Now let's return to our hypothetical Brenda. What decisions or processes are you trying to help her achieve? Okay, well, you need to make sense of her data, and then you need to present it to her in a way that she can clearly understand. So she does understand some graphs and stuff like that, but she may not be completely analytical minded. And so you have to present your data to her in such a way that she can understand. what's happening within the inner mechanics of her department. Through your visualization, you seek to guide Brenda into making the most prudent and effective management choices. Keep in mind that you have three main types of visualizations from which to choose. There are three things. We saw this in the previous video. There's storytelling, data art, and data showcasing. So storytelling is for people who are, trying to make business decisions. Data art is when you want to be creative and maybe you're working for some social issue, like, abolishing some sort of a bill passed by the government or something. So that would be that's where you would be using data art. And data showcasing is more for people who are analytical and you just want to show them the visualization and allow them to draw conclusions. Now, if you're designing for organizational decision makers, then you're most likely going to want to use data storytelling to directly tell your audience what their data means with respect to their line of business. If you're designing for a social justice organization or a political campaign, then data art can best make a dramatic and impactful statement with your data. And lastly, if you're designing for engineers, scientists, and statisticians, then stick with data showcasing so that these analytical types, because these analytical types, they have plenty of room to figure things out on their own. These people, they already are analytical minded and they can figure out things on their own. Referring back to Brenda, because she's not extraordinarily analytical and because she's depending on you to help her make excellent data-driven decisions, you need to employ data storytelling techniques. Okay, that's quite obvious because we have already pictured everything about Brenda and we know she's not analytical. And create either a static or interactive data visualization with some but not too much context. The visual elements of the design should tell a clear story so that Brenda does not have to work through tons of complexities to get the point of what you're trying to tell her about her data and her line of business. So you don't want to use all complicated graphics that she cannot understand. You want to make it simple and it should present the story very clearly. So this is how, once you know your audience, you can perform or create a better data visualization. And that's it for this video. I'll be back with the next one, so I'll see you there, and thank you for watching.